Today's episode is titled Aaron Was Wrong and Aaron Was Right. We got stories that I was wrong about today. We've been through some of those. Now we got some stories I was right about. One of the things I was right about was that sack of shit producer Joe, that slimy little cunt. I am so glad that he turned out to be a wormy little fucker. I'll tell you this, that universe, man, it is fun to watch for all the wrong reasons.
Yeah, not for the ones they intended.
Yeah, it's not conducive to having a good show long term, but it's conducive for a lot of great short-term entertainment.
Do we, at the end of things, have to thank Stuttering John for not only starting this whole fiasco, but ending it?
Technically.
I think we have to thank him.
Technically.
Send him a case of Coors.
Yeah. I mean.
Something.
Stuttering John killed his own creation in a way. I mean, it was kind of true. Like him retiring forced them to do other things, and we're finding out they don't really have a lot of other things to do.
Right.
And it's kind of, rolling over on itself. Which I don't hope for Shuli and Bob.
No.
They're trying to do a morning show over there. They're trying to kind of learn from us and follow in our footsteps and do kind of a morning show more format, trying to diversify the Uncle Rico thing. Chet Porter, this was a very funny comment. He says, when did Burt Reynolds start hosting the show? That is a compliment compared to what I've been getting for this
Burt Reynolds
sack of shit right here.
Boy, that would be a compliment. That guy's a legend.
Super fuckable back in his day, right?
Oh, he'd get it so hard.
No back knee.
No back knee.
Scarface says, producer Joe fucked up when he got cunty with the audience and hijacked the show. I said this from day one when I was on that Ray Devito's show, and fucking Joe bullied Ray and treated Ray like shit and didn't respect Ray as the host. It turned out to be, like, I handled it remarkably well. I came out of that looking great. Joe came out of it looking like a fucking douche. People thought he was a cunt.
He looked like an asshole.
Ray kind of looked like he got cucked by his producer. I felt bad for Ray. I always feel bad for Ray.
I also see Ray as like everybody's whipping boy.
Right. And I walked away from that going, I've met this producer Joe a million times. Meaning I've met this NPC. I've met this stamp and repeat human being many times in my life before. This is a guy who has no real authority in his life. Mm-hmm. This is a guy who holds no sway over anyone. So any kind of control, any kind of feeling better than someone he can get, he will take it. But you can't try that with me because I'm, a Joe is down here. Well, okay, I'm down here and a Joe is way down here. Like I ain't shit, but I'm way more than a producer Joe. Cocktiff says, Joe ruined your interview. Fuck that dude. He really did. He tried to make himself the focal point of that whole thing.
It wasn't good.
But he's not very good at this. He's good at hitting buttons and running sound, although I hear at the Pottstown thing, he kind of fucked up really bad. But he can push a button.
That was him?
He can push a button and say, yes, Mrs. Shuli, no, Mrs. Shuli. But outside of that, he's completely fucking useless.
Is that hard?
And
we've always said that too. Like, do you need a producer?
Yeah, and not only that, I guarantee the guy works nice and cheap, and that's got to be good for Shuli. And Shuli should keep as much of his money as he can. This business can be fickle. So we're going to talk about him in a little bit. Fuck it, let's just do it.
Yeah, that's good intro to it.
Yeah, I've gotten too far into this. Let's just do it now. Gina Bobina will be very happy that I get into this now. So there is one story that we have on this producer Joe that is 100% confirmed. It's real. It's a TikTok that's going viral.
Okay.
The other one, I cannot stress enough. I can't confirm this is him. I don't know. Muttering Jay says it is. And I will say this. Muttering Jay has been very fair to this show. He has criticized it when he feels that we're wrong about stuff. And he has retracted shit and said, oh, these guys are okay. And they were kind of right about this stuff. He even tagged me today. He said, Aaron, you fucking called it.
Here it is.
He said, you said this guy was a sack of shit. But El Horrible didn't let me have too many minutes of congratulating myself because he went, hey, asshole, you fucking told us that Kevin from Why Do I Podcast was an up-and-coming talent. And I go, oh, all right, fine. I told him, look, win some, lose some. And I was doing a shitload of COD at the time.
Where did that guy go? I heard he pissed on somebody at DabbleCon and then kind of just went away, huh?
Yeah. Oh, wow. So this producer Joe guy, he finds this TikTok that's going viral, and this was taken by people at a cancer ward. This is apparently a cancer medical place. Mm-hmm. And Joe, he must be some kind of IT guy, I'm guessing, some kind of computer nerd. The thing about IT guys they are remarkably unfriendly, unsocial, borderline autistic people. And they don't know how to interact in polite society. That's why Joe is perfect for the internet, and he should probably never leave the internet. He's probably really heavily involved in Discords. He probably loves Discords. He probably loves subreddits.
Reddits, yeah.
And, I will say this, and I wouldn't say this for too many people. He belongs there.
Oh, he fits that bill.
He belongs in that universe. This guy shouldn't go outside very often. This guy shouldn't venture out in public. He doesn't know how to interact with people. He seems like a guy threatened by authority. He seems like a guy who gets you saw it in the Ray interview. Anytime someone suns him or kind of dismisses him or anything, he gets kind of cunty and quiet and kind of regroups and then goes, well, I'm going to try and be a dick again. He never really learns the lesson of maybe if you weren't a dick so much, you might get more in life. He strikes me as a guy who's kind of a why me kind of a person.
Okay.
Or why not me kind of a person,
There's a whole song about him.
There's a whole song about this fucking guy. Again, I've seen this type a million times. Now, Chet Porter says, I heard he fucked an ostrich. I cannot confirm if that's true. And I've also heard it was a sick ostrich.
I also heard you'd maybe need help doing that.
Yeah, it would take at least two people to fuck a sick ostrich.
Right.
So Muttering Jay, this crazy fuck, finds this TikTok of Joe being an absolute cunt to this cancer, Health First Cancer Institute employee, being a basic bitch IT guy. Everybody's an idiot. I'm the smartest guy in the room, and I got to make sure everybody knows it. This level of insecurity. Here we go. This is him, and again, bunch of cancer patients.
Sometimes it feels special and they're big and powerful because of that kind of thing. I would have done it too. I don't fault them for it. I know what it's like to feel worthless like that.
That to me, that people they might watch that and go, oh man, that surprises me. Oh, why is he being such an asshole? I watched this morning and I went, this doesn't surprise me at all.
No.
This is exactly who I thought this little prick was.
Yep.
Just a little shit. Just a little asshole, little prick, Mr. Insignificant, absolute nobody. You can't give a guy like that a shred of authority over anyone for his sake, because he'll just expose what a giant tool he is. Like the Ray interview. He gets a little bit of influence over the Ray interview. Ray's like, I want to conduct this myself. I want to do a show. I want to talk to Aaron. We like each other. We have no problems with each other. And I wanted to do Ray a favor. I wanted to do his show. He'd asked me many times. I told him I would. I felt bad. I did the show because I thought I would have a good time with Ray. And here comes this fucking zilch who, doesn't even have the decency to address me as Mr. Imholt, as he should. All right, I have to. People are going to think I mean that shit.
Yeah.
So this little nobody starts going, Ray, we have to get to the super chats, Ray. And I'm kind of confused. If you go back and watch that interview, I look around like, shouldn't Ray be a host here and say, hey, producer guy, shut the fuck. He should have Les Grossman'd him. Shut the fuck up and let me do my job.
I don't know if you gone back and listened to that interview?
I haven't. I know it went very well for me.
You should. It was brutal.
Yeah.
And Ray was audibly annoyed. I was listening, not watching. He was audibly annoyed with Joe. He'd be like, all right, is that all super chats? Is that all? Can we continue with this interview now? And Joe's like, well, they're going to keep coming.
Yeah.
I mean.
Joe was so threatened. Every time I started looking good and Ray and I had a rapport, Joe got so nervous.
It's insecurity.
It's this guy is so insecure, and you're already seeing it here. That guy was so insecure that he's like, I have a job to do. I like Bob. Bob is good and Aaron's bad. And if Aaron looks good, I have to stop him. No, you don't, dipshit. You just have to let the show go and let the host run it. So you have Ray, he's trying to do a show, and every time Ray and I are having a good time, here comes fucking buzzkill washwoman Joe, and he's got to come in and go, no, I have to direct it toward the negative shit. And I just keep, brushing it off here, brushing it off there, brushing it off there. And this guy keeps seething and getting madder and madder every time it happens. Remember, that chat was openly hostile towards me when I came in there. What I've heard from you and many other people is that they turned on this motherfucker just as hard and going like, dude, let Ray talk. You're ruining the show. You're fucking this up. Get out of there.
It's just obnoxious.
Right. Now, the reason he's doing this and doing this cunty thing, like this I could have predicted would be words that would come out of his mouth. I would have done it too. I don't fault them for it. I know what it's like to feel worthless like that. And if you look down here, the reason he's saying this shit is because they told him to keep it down. Because it's a fucking cancer ward.
Where people are sick.
People are sick and they don't want to hear the brilliance of Producer Joe.
What is he doing there?
You're probably running bingo day. It might be who knows? This looks like something someone has to do when they get probation or when they have to graduate from high school.
It's like community service.
Right. It seems like community service. So he got sunned. This is kind of the Ray interview all over again. He got sunned. He got talked down to. He got told. His pride was hurt. So he had to attack.
You have to belittle the next person.
You have to belittle. Again, I'm telling you, this guy is at the bottom of the hill. Shit rolls downhill. He's got to find somewhere to put the shit. So he tosses a little shit ball up the hill. There. I know what it's like to feel worthless, so I get why they're doing it. It doesn't bother me. Oh, it bothers you. And they told him, keep it down. Hey, the cancer people would like you to be a little quieter.
They're not feeling so hot.
That's fine. I know what it's like to feel worthless. Pieces of shit. So obviously this upset him. This offended him. And again, he's probably just playing like fucking polka music on his laptop for the old people.
Did he post this TikTok? Who posted
No, this is someone from the cancer place. Saying,
they just happened to know who he was?
No, they have no idea who he is. They were so moved by what an asshole he is that they just posted this on TikTok, not saying this is the guy from the Shuli network. First of all of us podcasting are nobodies. Nobody knows who we are, and nobody should. Carl is actually a name in podcasting, and people don't know who the fuck he is when you go out in public. We're all relatively small. Carl's the biggest, but we're all very small.
I guess
this guy was such an asshole that this person just recorded it because they found a random asshole.
Okay, what I'm trying to say is then how did we find this?
Because Muttering Jay is an autistic, beautiful, godlike investigator.
I don't know what Producer Joe looks like. I would have never seen this and been like, oh, that's Producer Joe.
Does he look like a bitch? In this video, he does. Let's continue. So the staff told him, hey, these people are sick and riddled with cancer. Do you mind not being a little fuckhead? And then he decided to be a little fuckhead.
And, try and find your power where you can. It's like, I'm not going to put up with it. That's what I'm not going to do. Yeah, we might have.
They're trying to find their power wherever they can. I'm not going to put up with it. I need to point this out. And Chad Zumock does this too. And now we're finding out that a lot of these guys aren't that different from Chad. They project.
Oh, they're all the same.
They have to get their power wherever they can. Joe, that's what you're trying to do. You got sunned and now you're pouting and you're sulking and you're seething and you're going, I get it, pieces of shit. They have to find power wherever they can. Joe, they do have power over you. They run the fucking cancer center,
right? And
you're a guy with a laptop playing fucking On Golden Pond for the cancer patients.
You're literally trying to find your power at a cancer ward.
Yeah, Joe.
On a laptop.
You're feeling embarrassed at a cancer ward. You're making it about you.
That's insane.
And you're trying to insult the cancer staff. Fuck.
Because they're being assholes. Can we do that, Dan? I gotta deal with this piece of shit. Let me call you back.
Wow. So even the people, the cancer patients are groaning. They're like, oh, wow, what a dick.
Wow, so somebody really did think this guy was being shitty enough to do a TikTok on him.
Right. So these two were telling him to keep it down. And then he starts bitching and complaining on a video call on his laptop. And then he's ignoring the two of them. And they're like, sir, until finally, again, him needing to feel like he's projecting any kind of control, goes, these people are being assholes. I'll call you back later. What? Where do you get off, retard?
This is pretty weird. I'll say that much.
He look, again, if you would have told me he'd done this and not shown me any video proof, I would have said, based on my limited interaction and how I nailed this guy right off the bat, I would not have a problem believing that this happened. I wouldn't need video evidence.
You have 45 minutes. I've
She's
already
leaving.
been here for central treatment.
If I'm leaving, she's leaving.
Bro, you have no say. This is their cancer center. If I'm leaving, she's leaving. You talk about arrested development. This producer Joe guy is such a harmed little boy that if he gets punished in the least, he has to try and seize back control and say, no, she's leaving too.
Absolutely. Self-preservation.
Yeah. Meanwhile, they're like, hey, dipshit, that ain't your call. This is a guy who could run the fry pad at the McDonald's and be like, you can't tell me what to do. It's like, no, I can. I'm your boss.
I literally can.
You're the fry guy.
Salt the fries.
Right. Here, Joe is the fry guy who thinks he's the burger maker, who thinks he's the manager. Make the fucking fries and shut your mouth. I'm sorry it didn't work out the way you wanted it to. And by that, I mean life. But you don't take it out on Ray Devito. You don't take it out on people that you think you're that are less than you, like Ray. You certainly don't take it out on the cancer people, you fucking baby.
The weird thing for me, because I do sit here and believe, like, my greatest thing when people say really hostile, shitty things about me or my family is like, dude, I'm a nobody. Like, why are you spending any time on me? I'm looking at a producer, Joe, who is kind of in a circle with, in reality, maybe nobody, but like he's with cool people that are like from the Stern Show and all that. And I'm like, if I was in your shoes, I'd be a little more humble.
Oh yeah,
I totally would.
Because again,
I'm in a spot that I'm sure somebody else would love to be in, and you're being shitty like that.
Because again, Carl is bigger than Shuli and Bob, who are bigger than me. And I know I'm way bigger than a producer Joe. And this guy acts like he should come from the kiddie table to come talk to the grown-ups. Dude, it's like, motherfucker, you're behind me in that line. How dare you have the audacity to behave this way in public to anyone or behave that way to a Ray DeVito? Ray DeVito has a show. You don't have a show. Ray DeVito's got one. And you're going to crack whip with Ray DeVito? I got bad news for you. You ain't above Ray.
I'm absolutely humbled anytime somebody considers even talking to me. Like Chrissy invites me on to Simpcast. It's a huge honor.
Sure.
Like, I'm completely humbled, and I just think being this way, like producer Joe is not going to end well for you.
This is a miserable man. End well. If the next story is to believe, this guy's pushing 50.
Is he pushing 50?
Again, I don't know if this next story is true.
I don't know anything about this guy besides like what I've heard.
Muttering Jay has a pretty high hit rate, so I do trust him. But this next story, I got to throw the word allegedly out there all over the fucking place. Let's watch the end of this again. This is producer Joe from the Shuli Network berating staff at a cancer place because they asked him to turn the volume down on what he's doing. So now he's just being a pouty baby boy cunt.
Tell me to shush one more time. Go ahead and tell me to shush one more time.
What the fuck are you gonna do? Shut up. Tell me, oh, big man threatening the cancer ward staff. Ma'am, tell me to shush one more time. Or what? Hey, Joe, shush.
I don't think we need any extra tension in the cancer ward. Okay?
No.
These people are stressed out enough.
The cancer people don't need some, failed Gen Xer coming in and making a scene.
Just making things feel like dirty and tense.
Right.
Like, that's not necessary.
Wow. Oh, I missed that end of it. Oh God, why didn't this TikTok keep going? Did you see the fucking cancer guy get up?
He's pissed.
The fucking cancer guy's ready to beat the shit out of producer Joe.
And I'll tell you why, because this cancer guy, he's older and he probably has some respect. And like in this case, let's say for women, and producer Joe's up here talking shitty to these women that work at this facility, and he's had it.
Hey,
he won't stand for that.
Shuli, in the words of, and I just want to say, I like Shuli. I love Bob Levy. In the words of Kevin Brennan, cut him loose. You don't need this shit.
Why do you need that?
Shuli, you're running a very successful thing. I know some people don't like Shuli. Some people do. Shuli's running a successful thing right now. keep it successful. He's got a Patreon with 750 people on it. He's got a YouTube channel that I think is doing well in the super chats. It's doing well in the views. I think in terms of views, channel-wise, it goes Carl, Shuli, us in that world. I mean, we're kind of tacitly, we do our own thing over here. But if you want to lump us into that world, Carl, Shuli, us. If you go on Social Blade, MLC, because they don't keep their shit up, they don't do very well in views.
Sure.
And then everyone else below that is doing like half. Everyone else, so there's Carl, Shuli, and we're in a distant third, and everyone else has half the views that we do. So, like I said, we're all nobodies. This is a very small unit, but Shuli's running like us, a relatively successful family business here.
And how does a producer Joe get his position? How did he earn that position?
2 words. Works cheap.
That's it.
Shuli can afford someone better at this point. He can afford someone better. Like Carl's got good people, and Carl's a smart guy tech-wise too. I want to see this old guy get up. God, they should have kept this TikTok going. But this old guy has had it with fucking Joe. You're right. He's an older guy. He believes you should respect women. You shouldn't talk to him a certain way.
Right.
And Joe's going, ma'am, tell me to shush one more time. Get out of here, you fucking scrub.
I will say that about old people. There is a certain number of them that still hold those old respects and morals and stuff and principles, and I do like that.
How about the fact that you riled up a cancer patient to the point where he wants to beat the shit out of you?
He's throwing his coat on the ground.
Yeah. Hey, people who think you're a giant asshole from the minute they first heard you, me and a guy riddled with cancer, I think we're in good company here.
Tell me to shush one more time.
Watch this guy right here.
Go ahead and tell me to shush one more time. Hey.
Look at that. The cancer guy goes, God damn it, enough of this shit. Like, he goes back into dad mode with this guy.
And these women, they're just trying to go about their business too.
Yeah.
I mean, this just seems like you're kind of a nobody, like an NPC here.
Yeah, they told the visiting laptop guy, first of all, you're a laptop guy at a cancer center. You're not anybody who's worth cracking whip. They asked you nicely, turn it down. And like a 14-year-old boy who was told to turn his music down, you threw a little temper tantrum. Ugh. What a fucking asshole. Now, we have a second part of this that, again, I can't confirm. Muttering Jay stands by this. I can't confirm it.
Okay.
But if it is him, I mean, cut him loose already, but cut him loose twice. Rostog's Broken Spirit. Oh, boy. I'm his number one fan after he slammed his laptop lid angrily.
Yeah, I want him to understand that he was literally just laptop guy in a cancer ward. Like, when those people go home tonight, the ones who can, because they're not dying. That was a room full of dying people, okay?
Yeah.
Like, they're all going to go to bed that night thinking, God, who is that guy with the laptop again? Boy, he was an asshole.
What a fucking
I can't believe he was there. I don't know why he was there.
Matt Joe says, I excommunicate him from the League of Joes. Holy shit. That's pretty big.
Yeah, he's ruining the name Joe.
Uh-oh. You got excommunicated. The Ugly Fuckling says he rage quit his Chromebook. He did. Rostog says, haha, a cancer ward. Yeah, he's doing this in a cancer ward.
There's a room full of people there fighting for their lives, and that's what they had to look at.
When you exaggerate, make fun of someone, you'll use cancer ward as a funny, exaggerated setting. Like, hey, guy would throw a fit in a cancer ward. This guy threw a baby boy fit in a cancer ward.
I really do feel like I need more information. Like, I don't know why he was there. I still really want confirmation that was him, because I didn't see his name anywhere. Like, I wish somebody like Shuli would be like, oh, yeah, that's him.
Yeah. Well, it sounds exactly like him.
I know it
exactly
sounds like him. I just don't like the hearsay shit. I like confirmation.
Zen Rhino says that's little dick energy to try to bully an elderly woman working at a hospital for cancer patients. I mean, that says it all right there.
People invite guests into like a cancer ward to uplift people's spirits.
Yeah.
Not be left with that.
Delco Lou says, is he still associated with the Shuli network or did they drop him? This came out this morning. Muttering Jay tagged me in this and said, Aaron, you were right about this guy. And I'm like, and I want to point something out. I don't need to be told I was right about this guy. I know I was right about this guy, but getting the visual confirmation, when you're someone who trusts your instincts on something like that, it does feel good because no matter how confident you are, there's always that little bit of doubt. it does feel good to see confirmation. You're like, oh, good, the whole world can see what a fucking douche I've always known this guy
I think
to
any
be.
of us who listened to the Ray DeVito interview, or non-interview, honestly, it was really devastating. Like, he ruined the whole thing.
I'm using socialist media says the guy should have got Joe in a headlock and dragged him outside. You don't need to be stressing out the cancer patients like
That's
that.
what I'm saying. Like, I don't know who believes in like energies and shit here, but you're really throwing the fucking energy in that room off.
Hobo Chili Recipe says that old guy was in the Tet offensive. He's still got a couple players left in him. Yeah, probably. Dixon is still worse. Who, Pat Dixon? Well, I mean, the only good thing he's done is punch Gino in the mouth. No, I'm kidding. I love Gino. He's going to be at the Steel Toe anniversary party.
No, Gino's going to hit you for that comment. See if you can take a hit.
Here, I'll do this. Go ahead, buddy. Go ahead. D. Gulag says, I like Shuli. He's a little slimy, but the BS show is good. He's got to run the whole show over there. You got to be a little slimy to run the whole show. I think the BS show does a good job. I think I don't think they need that horse shit dragging him down. Because, like, shows that rely on their chat, they're going to eat them alive for that. You don't want to hear this shit in your chat day after day about what a piece of shit your producer is, especially when you probably don't pay him that much. You can get anybody else.
Well, the thing about
Get fucking Adam from Misery Loves Company. You don't think that'll make Kevin upset if they go get Adam and just pay him more?
I really do believe that Kevin needs to get out of this business. I really do, because I think he's lost the plot.
Or at least take a little break.
Fuck that. I think he's angry, and I think he's lost the plot, and I think this is bad for his health. I do.
Zen Rhino says that old guy's a boomer, not Gen X. No. Joe is Gen X. I'm talking about Joe. But Joe shouldn't mess with him because you don't get to be that old by being stupid. Well, yeah, and the guy's fighting cancer. He's fucking bald.
Yeah.
Like, and he throws his fucking blanket down. Like, what an asshole do you have to be to get an old cancer guy to throw his blanket down? For God's sake.
I think you have to be quite an asshole to get old people to be pissed. Honestly, yeah. I do.
Gina Bobina reiterates, a room of dying people. And he's being a cunt. Yep. Cocktiff says, Joe is going to get destroyed today. Hope he calls in sick with monkeypox. It's believable. But could he score dick? I don't know. Delco Lou says, my grandpa would have went back into boxer mode at 100 pounds with pancreatic cancer to shut this guy up. Well, I hope he wouldn't give himself the cancer just to make it more of a challenge. Kevin Vassar says he better watch out before he runs into an old washing room guy from yesterday. Yeah, what if he runs into Hoot?
Maybe.
Oh, man. Joe
will not be a Hoot for
Joe
him.
would not last very long with Hoot. Well, if the next story is to be believed, Joe's a little bit like Hoot. Again,
that's not good either, though.
Allegedly.
Okay.
Mr. Approachable says, I actually applaud producer Joe's behavior. Okay, everybody gets an opinion. All of those cancer patients will realize those type of people exist in the world, and now they're okay with the inevitable ending to come.
That's true. They don't want to be around that.
Right. Joe actually helped these people shuffle loose the mortal coil and be okay with it.
Right. They're accepting their death now.
Yes. I'm using socialist media says, just lost a relative earlier this week after a 3-year battle with cancer. This guy deserved an ass kicking. Yeah,
don't make people's last days. Like, don't let that be a memory for them. That's awful.
Zen Rhino says that support staff was postmenopausal, so that equals old in my book. All right. Fair enough. Boy. Oh, Jesus. Oh, I can't read that one.
I have missed all of these.
Oh, boy. Here's just Gino Bobina says, tell him, April, 100.
Kevin's killing himself. I completely believe that. Like, I used to find it kind of funny to listen to him, and I still do. I love his voice. Like, his yelling voice is great. But when you're
saying
yelling
it out of
like
concern.
that, I am actually, and I know he doesn't care about me, and I don't really care about him. But when you're spit yelling at people in a chat who aren't real people, okay, like these people just want your reaction, like you're going to die someday.
My monk says, I think you and April would like Pat Dixon if you had him on. We've had Pat on. Pat has been, he was nice when he was on the show. There are things going around about Pat Dixon that I cannot certainly condone. I've never been friends with the guy or anything, so I really don't feel like I need to put myself out there one way or the other on a Pat Dixon. He's a Pat Dixon.
I have never spoken to Pat Dixon, but listening to you two talk, it seemed all right. But I agree, like if those circulating rumors were to be true, like I can't condone that behavior.
If the stuff about women is true, that's just a piece of shit move no matter who you are.
Right.
Okay, let's get to the second part of this producer Joe thing. If this one's true, and I understand Muttering Jay wants anonymity on the internet. God knows that's the right move. But God, if we could get him on the show to talk about this and what he knows, it would really help me, because this is one where legally I don't need the heat. So I'm going to say allegedly. This is a story from July 28th, 2001. So a year and a half to 2 years ago.
2021, not 2001.
What did I say?
You said 2001.
I apologize. 2021. Thank you, April. A Barefoot Bay, I believe that's Florida. Yeah, Brevard County. A Barefoot Bay man was arrested last weekend after pointing a handgun at his neighbor. Now, Muttering Jay says this is Joe from the Shuli network. I trust Muttering Jay, but I do not know if this is the guy. You look at the guy in that TikTok, and you look at that guy here. They do look very similar.
Yes, they do.
They look they look like similar people.
I will say this is why I want confirmation.
Yeah. If this is him, is that a wiener guy?
Yeah.
That's a wiener guy. I think
all day long.
This guy, if that's Joe, Joe's a wiener guy. Well, the cancer thing makes Joe a wiener guy. Imagine being so insecure with yourself that you feel you have to try and prostrate yourself above some middle-aged women at a cancer
That's what I'm saying. That's why I don't have a problem saying, like, dude, I'm a nobody. Like, don't focus on me. I don't matter.
Joe, embrace the fact that I'm a nobody and you're beneath me. You're a super nobody. Once you embrace that you're a nobody, you got nothing to prove. It's nice. April, are you a nobody?
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Me too. On Sunday at approximately 11 a.m., this is a couple years ago, deputies responded to the 1100 block of Sabal Palm Lane in Barefoot Bay about a disturbance between two neighbors. According to the Brevard County Sheriff's Office, the 77-year-old victim told deputies that his neighbor, identified as 40-year-old Philip Joseph Russo, pointed a handgun at him as he was leaving his residence.
Okay, well.
Okay, we don't pull guns on old people. And if this is him, it does show a pattern of behavior. Mm-hmm. Detesting the elderly.
Yeah, but for some reason puts himself in proximity to said old people.
Yeah.
That are twice his age.
40-year-old Philip Joseph Russo pointed a handgun as he was leaving the residence. Now, this could be him. I mean, certainly if you're on the internet, using your middle name is not uncommon. I mean, that would be
you don't like using your real name usually.
Sure.
It's fine.
The victim has observed Russo standing in his driveway with a firearm and holster on his hip. He told deputies that it's been going on for the past 2 weeks.
What are you doing? Just trying to scare your elderly neighbor?
What do you just stand there like a stupid asshole with your gun on your... What do you think you are, fucking Wyatt Earp?
What did he do?
Does a tumbleweed blow across your driveway when your elderly neighbor comes by and you open up a duster and go, doo-doo-doo, doon, doon, doon. Fucking, who are you, Rooster Cogburn, you slimy cunt? Shut up.
You don't look the part.
No, you don't. You look like a guy who, even if you pulled a gun, you could walk right up to him and go, there. And that's all the punch would be, just that. Just a little soft tap on the nose. Give me your fucking
He's
gun.
got like a little grunt with it.
Yeah, he'd go... He'd have a whimper, I believe.
No.
He also advised that Russo had constantly harassed him and his wife and has made verbal threats. The victim has been in fear to the point of purchasing surveillance cameras around his home. Now, again, I don't know if this is him or not, but it does seem to fit with what I think of this guy.
Yeah, I didn't picture going this far. I just figured he'd be some sort of like insecure person.
Yeah, if this is not Producer Joe, then Producer Joe need not worry.
They're similar, though.
But if it is him, whether it's him or not, whoever this guy is a giant piece of shit who bullies the elderly and seems mentally unstable, highly insecure, chock full of mental problems, and should either be in a facility or have his ass kicked. One of the two. On Sunday, the victim went to leave his home. And he observed Russo standing near the driveway, and he said, bro, we're going to have tournaments, and we're going to have Norman Smiley take the title off of Goldberg. Oh, sorry, different Russo. I apologize.
Very different.
Observed Russo standing near the driveway. As he started his vehicle and backed out, Russo pulled out his firearm from the holster and pointed it in a defensive posture towards the victim. See, it just sounds like
Jesus.
a crazy fuck.
That is crazy.
You got a guy
You're
standing,
not even provoked.
right, for 2 weeks, you got a guy standing there with a gun on his hip and just staring like a fucking tardo muffin. And then one day he just goes, ugh. Big man, by the way, pulls a gun on a 77-year-old.
I don't like it.
He continued to stare at the victim with his handgun drawn as the victim was leaving. When the victim returned, he verified the encounter, captured on surveillance cameras, and notified law enforcement. Imagine you're such a crazy rat fuck piece of shit that your neighbor has to put cameras up just for you.
Yeah, people typically don't just go buy those for no reason.
Right. There's
This has been happening. It's ongoing.
There's 2 reasons that you get a surveillance camera. Some kids have been leaving dog shit on your front step, and a raccoon's been in your garbage. Those are the 2 or
Gotta know when he's showing up to get rid of him.
Or you have a psychotic tard with a gun who just camped out outside your driveway.
Fun.
I viewed the footage gathered by the victim's surveillance cameras and observed the following. The defendant exited his residence at approximately 9:29 and stood in the driveway with a firearm in a holster on his hip. An unknown neighbor was heard talking to him, and the defendant waved at him, and a verbal salutation was heard. The door of the victim's residence was heard opening, at which point the defendant immediately removed his firearm from the holster, held it at an angle toward the ground, and stood in a defensive stance. Based on my training and experience, I recognize the firearm position to be considered a low ready position. So, kind of the down
He's
here.
just standing like this.
And his stance was consistent with a shooting stance, the deputy said.
He had his legs set, his feet set.
Yeah, either the left in front of the right, which is technically the correct way to do it, or some people square off their feet, which I don't think you're supposed to do. The video surveillance then showed Russo taking steps toward the victim's vehicle with a gaze fixed on the victim while he was leaving. Deputies then spoke with Russo, and he admitted to removing the firearm from the holster and stood in a modified isosceles stance while the victim left his residence. Russo, again, who we do not know if he is producer Joe or not, but Muttering Jay says it is, and the guy, they do share a similar look, and the guy's middle name is Joseph.
I predict that by the end of today, the Shuli network in general will be getting so much heat about this that they'll have to confirm or deny if this is the guy.
Look, just the cancer thing alone, the guy's got to go. He's a piece of shit. I mean, and unstable. Russo said he was afraid that the victim would come to his residence or drive his vehicle onto his property. What are you, fucking insane?
No.
Are you crazy?
That's not happening. This sounds like somebody on drugs, I'll be honest.
I was
you've
going
either
to
got
say-
a mental tick or you're on drugs.
I was going to say this sounds, it's Florida. This sounds like meth.
Yes, it does. It sounds like you're paranoid. It sounds like you're like on edge unnecessarily.
Again, I don't know if this is producer Joe or not. Have no idea.
We're observing a man who is alleged.
But whoever
him.
this guy is, this sounds like a meth problem. I'm not saying
Something bad.
I'm not saying that this gentleman 2 years ago was on methamphetamine, but this sounds like drug paranoia to me. Russo also admitted that the victim had not made any comments, threatened him, made any gestures, or had any contact with him. So the guy did nothing. Russo was charged with felony aggravated assault on a person over 65 and transported to the Brevard County Jail, where his bond was set at $15,000. I mean, I will tell you this.
That's pretty weird, huh?
I think the cancer thing alone is enough to say, I don't want to be associated with this fucking creep. But if that's him too, you got a fucking psychopath on your hands.
And I ask you again, how did this guy, if it were to be him, how did he get the position he holds right now? How the hell did he get there?
Well, he works cheap.
He's just a nobody who raised his hand in class one day, I'll do it, Shuli.
I guarantee he contacted Shuli and said, I'll do it. And before people say, because I know, again, I know some people like to criticize Shuli. You can't say, oh, how did Shuli not know this guy? When you're starting up a fucking nothing podcast, you don't do background checks into these people. A fan of yours emails you and says, I'll run all the shit you don't know how to run. And you go, wow, I would appreciate the help.
I'm paranoid as all hell. I don't like that shit. I like to know somebody, but that's just me. I don't run a show, you do.
Well, no, I wouldn't do. I run my own board and all that, for better or for worse. Zen Rhino says, how can I be in a defensive position if you have a gun, but the other person doesn't, and they are twice your age? No, they meant the stance he was in.
Yep.
In law enforcement, it's considered a defensive stance. Jay Hasty says, thinking the old guy didn't see the Crayola magazine the guy put in the gun. The Pickle Man says, Roots gets beaten up by the local Cosby kid. Mark says, how do you point a gun in a defensive posture? Again, it's the stance. Law enforcement is using it. They're using that as referring to the stance he was in. Familiar Human says squaring off is old school. Well, maybe he was on meth and watching old cop movies.
No, he said he was in a modified isosceles position. That is insinuating that one foot was in front of the other.
Yeah. H says, I eat my Tardo muffin with a dollop of I can't believe it's not butter.
Delicious.
Roots Calhoun says, I put real butter on my can't believe it's not butter and then shove the Tardo muffin up my ass. Well,
could be fun.
Different
Messy, but fun.
Different strokes for different folks. He learned his isosceles stance from YouTube. What a joke, says Hobo Chili Recipe.
I'm guessing.
Roots Calhoun says, I pull my gun all the time. Fucking kids ain't going to throw their stupid ass ball in my yard anymore.
Yeah, maybe he's just keeping them in check.
Yeah,
he's like, don't you do anything.
He doesn't take any shit from these old people.
You stay off my lawn.
NF Cap says, biggest producers of meth are in Wyoming, all those open spaces, and leave me the fuck alone attitudes. Let's see I want to catch up with the chat here on this. I'm begging you, let Joe co-host one day, and I promise I'll cover the Daily Goal myself. If he wants to come and tell us his drug stories or any kind of stories like that, if there are any drug stories, I would be interested to hear them. Now, I want to ask you guys a question, and I want you to be very honest. And April, I want you to be honest, and I'll be honest.
Always.
If this is him, and he did this, who's worse in terms of law breaking? What Chad Zumach's done or this guy?
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Pulling a gun on elderly people or stealing credit cards. What's worse?
Well, if you're just going on those two, obviously the pointing the gun, but if you're going for the entire rap sheet,
Yeah.
Chad Zumach.
You know what? You're right. The
Are you
stalking.
kidding me?
Yeah, the
He has
stalking,
a
the
legal
drunk.
background. No, not a legal background. He's had like a rap sheet.
The stalking, the drunk driving.
Oh, he's done so much worse.
So you're saying one crime for one crime.
Which
Joe is-
crime, though?
That if this Russo guy, whoever this Russo guy is,
Yeah.
Russo guy is worst crime for worst crime. But you're saying Chad may not be a heavy hitter with one crime, but it's an accumulation of punches.
Oh, he's got a whole thing.
All right.
Zumach without question, indeed, King Kong Dog.
King Kong Dog says Zumach without question. All right, H. He says, stop wasting quality showtime with these nobodies. Get back to some comedy. Q. Indus buzz, bindis buzz. Yes. Okay, we are done. I promise you. Paul's Deep says, Chad can't own a gun, comparing apples to gay F words.
Yeah, but the word can't has never stopped somebody from owning a gun. I want to remind people that the gun laws have never prevented somebody from getting one.
So that would be interesting. I would like to see what Muttering Jay has in reference to whether or not that's him or not.
I'm going to stay tuned today because I think that's going to fall on the Shuli network to be like, that's him or that's not him. Today, I think that's going to happen because they're going to be getting this thrown in their face all day.
Muttering Jay's been reposting the cancer one a bunch. He says, if this was, say, an airport, it would be horrendous. But this is a waiting room for people undergoing cancer treatment. Producer Joe's cruel and sanctimonious mindset has infected, then tags the Uncle Rico show programming and led to the bullying of Ray Devito. That I don't like either. Ray is trying his best. Ray wants to have a career in performing and comedy, and led by this producer, Joe, people have treated him like a fucking joke, and it is kind of gross.
I will say, I don't think the bullying of Ray DeVito solely falls on producer Joe.
No.
Not even a little bit.
You are absolutely right.
No.
Muttering Jay also wrote today, something Uncle Rico should copy from WATP. Producer Chris is a lovely human being. I don't know if he really cares for me that much at all, but I like him. The Who Are These podcast is a master of knowing when to intervene and how to support the show and make it better. In contrast, producer Joe is a smug bully who actively sabotages hosts like Ray DeVito. He's not wrong.
That's accurate.
Not wrong. Wow. So, yeah, Muttering Jay's been really going after this.
That's what I mean. I don't know when these shows air technically, I guess, because get this, I don't really watch most of them until something's happening, but I think they'll address it today.
Yeah. How interesting is that producer Joe was going to help Chad Zumach with his podcast, but then producer Joe says, I can't be associated with you because of what you're doing to Bob's stepdaughter. And now we find out producer Joe's a way bigger piece of shit than that.
I'm happy people got to that point, by the way, where they got to this Bob's stepdaughter shit and said, you know what, I'm going to draw a line there. But it does make me upset that shit and worse was happening to me.
Yeah.
And nobody gave a fuck.
Yeah. Jaeger King, I agree with you, man.
Nobody.
I agree with Jaeger King. He goes, not for nothing, but who has time to listen to all these other podcasts and know who the fuck all these people
That's
are?
what I feel like. Like, I really don't listen to most of these.
I feel like
don't.
I feel like if you actually listened to them, your fucking head would be spinning all the time.
I do this show. I've got a few other shows I really do enjoy and I do listen to, and then I kind of fuck off and do my own thing.